It's time, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. NBA Finals getting ready to tip off later on tonight. Ant is here. We got you covered. Stay tuned. I got next coming right back at you. Yo, what's up, Aunt Bailey? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? I'm excited for this NBA Finals tonight. Game one.
It's kind of crazy, and you look at it, and this is there are a lot of different intriguing matchups, but this is a really good one. This is a really, really good matchup. There's a lot of these teams don't have a whole lot of holes, but the holes that they have make it really interesting to see how they're going to try to take advantage and exploit those holes. So I'm excited. It's a good. You got this current dynasty versus the dynasty of the entire history of the NBA going head to head.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got two different compelling stories that are facing off. Tatum and Brown finally got over the hump after years of people saying split them up. They can't play together.
Mm-hmm.
So this is their chance to prove that. I mean, they've already proved it. They made it to the finals, but to win would put the cherry on top. And then you got the Warriors who, in 16, 17, 18 were running the league. Then they ran into the injuries and they had the 2 down years. They had the 3rd overall pick that one year. Klay Thompson with his injuries, and now they bounce back. It's like, can they bounce back? And like you said, it's sort of like the Chicago Bulls-esque, like the second repeat. Maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't, but it's definitely interesting. I've seen a lot of people talk about that, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great series between 2 very well-rounded, competitive teams who are super physical, super competitive, and yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and one of the things that jumps out to me is I think Steph Curry has always kind of had this weird sort of he won the 2 MVPs back to back. He won the unanimous MVP, but there was always this, but he's not. There was some debate about whether he really deserved that, because really LeBron has been that guy, kind of like Michael Jordan, where it's they give it to Karl Malone, and it's but is he really better than Jordan? But it was almost like you kind of had to do it just to keep it interesting, give it to somebody else. But it's really funny to watch all of the different iterations of this Warriors team, and those 3 guys, Draymond, Klay, and Steph, have been there. Well, and Steve Kerr, obviously, but that's been the little trio that has always been part of that. And Steph Curry, really kind of carrying them through much of the season when Klay wasn't back yet, and you got the help from Poole and everything. There were a lot of different pieces, but they were, until they ran into some injuries, they were really, really playing well and kind of running the league there for the first, couple of months. And just interesting to see him back there again, see Steph back there again, where it's okay, you kind of have to take notice now, because this is not the Kevin Durant, Warriors, and this is not the 73 win Warriors with the death lineup and everything. This is a whole different. They keep recreating themselves into a new iteration, and there he is, at the tip of the spear.
Yeah, I mean, Steph has that little wrinkle in his resume, I guess you could say, because he doesn't have the stamp of Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is the chance that he can prove it. That's what everybody else in the sports media has been saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, I think that people are just nitpicking.
For real.
Because the first championship they won, they gave it to Iguodala for slowing down LeBron, even though LeBron averaged a triple-double, 35 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. So they gave it to Iguodala, and then the Cavs won the next year, and then KD won both of them, right?
Yep.
So everybody's like, oh, would he have been able to do it without KD, blah, blah, blah. So you can always have that argument. But
and even the first one with Kyrie. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the entire Cavs roster got hurt.
They all got hurt, right? So it was like there was
It's funny.
there was a
It's always
tarnish
funny
on
how
that
they
one.
do that with LeBron, but they
Right.
never do it with Steph.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, well the Warriors won in 15. It's like, okay, well Kyrie was playing on one knee, and Kevin Love got his shoulder ripped out by Kelly Olynyk. So maybe the Warriors never even have a dynasty if they don't get hurt that year, and it's a Cavaliers dynasty, and that team never breaks apart. But that's why we play the games. Things happen, and that's sports. But even so, last year, or was it 2 years ago? No, last year when they were the 8th seed and they lost to the Grizzlies in the play-in. Like Steph was unbelievable last year. He was playing like an MVP. So I think you got to put Steph up there with some of the all-time greats. I don't know if he's in the top 10 yet, but if he wins another chip, like you can make that argument. But that's the thing with these type of arguments. You could bend them and fold them whatever way you want it. You know, you could argue, oh, this guy didn't have any help on his team. This guy had the perfect situation. And that goes with coaching too. Like Steve Kerr walked into the perfect situation with the Warriors. Right. And he's given Mark Jackson credit for that defense.
Right.
The first championship they won, like, oh, how'd you get him defensive? He was like, well, that was really Mark. So I'm like, I always make the joke. I'm like, these are all Mark Jackson's championships, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be interesting. I'm really interested in this first game tonight because I'm interested to see like what type of lineups are thrown out there, what type of adjustments are made.
Right.
And you'll see that tonight. And then in games like 2 and 3, you'll see some different wrinkles. And then if the series is like 1-2 or 2-1, whatever the case may be, you'll start seeing the rotations get cut down a little bit more, specifically on who's playing well and whatnot.
Well, you saw that in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where you had, I think both teams essentially played 6 guys. They played 7 or maybe 8, but one guy got 3 minutes and another guy got like 7. You know, you had dudes hanging 42, 45, 47 minutes in that game because it's go hard or go home. That's it. You leave everything out on the court because it's over if you don't win. So let's get into, because I'm kind of with you, like all these arguments about whether somebody belongs in the top 10 or if they're one of the all-time greats. That's great for like the barbershop in the off season. But right now we get to watch some amazing basketball, and we get to really, I want to dig into how those matchups that you were talking about. One of the things that I look at with you look at the Heat series and even the Bucks, it's not the same type of perimeter defense that you have to play against the Warriors. It's not all, spot up standing shooters, and your real playmakers, your superstars are mid-range slashers like Jimmy Butler, Giannis Antetokounmpo, that sort of thing, where it's the drive and kick or take it all the way to the hole. You've got some guys who are legitimate with the Warriors, who, especially Steph, but also Poole is he's got that ability to slash, but also hit the deep shot, and Andrew Wiggins too. And Clay always does his thing. He's not as much of an effective penetrator, but he still is. He's still effective.
Right.
So how would you, if you're in Ime Udoka's spot, how do you work your rotations, first of all? And secondly, what do you do do you switch bigs onto? Do you switch Robert Williams onto? Al Horford can defend on the perimeter, almost like at an elite level, even as old as he is. But how do you manage that? What do you do in those situations?
That's a very, very tough question. Like I said, you got to kind of feel out the first couple minutes of the game and see how the game is flowing. I think the obvious answer is that you want the ball out of Steph Curry's hands.
Mm-hmm.
You want the other guys on the team to take the shots. Now, with that being said, like you just said, they got Jordan Poole, they got Clay, they got and everybody's been talking about Marcus Smart being the most, like, the X factor of the series, which I guess you could argue. I think it's Andrew Wiggins, personally.
Andrew Wiggins, he's like poor man's KD,
I think it's Andrew Wiggins, because when that guy is playing well, they are very, very hard to guard. because when he's hitting his corner threes, his threes from the wing, and then he mixes in, he's an athletic freak in nature. He can dunk off of one dribble from the 3-point line.
Right.
So when that guy's playing well, the Warriors are extremely, extremely hard to guard. Him and Jordan Poole are huge parts of that team. Jordan Poole's coming off the bench and giving you that offensive spark. Like, it's ridiculous, his skill set. And he does not lack confidence. You know, I know he doesn't have any playoff experience. Obviously, he doesn't have any championship experience. But just from watching his game and the way he carries himself, he has tons of confidence. And the other guys on the team, Steph, Draymond, Clay, they fuel him with that confidence as well. Maybe not Clay. It seems like there's a little butting heads there because Clay's like, damn it. But no, I'm playing
there's that. You got like, you're looking at one video clip or whatever where he puts his head down like,
But if I'm the Warriors, I'm trying to make Clay put the ball, on the ground because his athleticism isn't back to what it was yet. I don't know if it'll ever be back to that point. Maybe next year when he has a little bit more rest. But right now, you can still tell that he's not too comfortable with going to the rim all the time. He's been settling for some long jumpers. So you just want them to take as tough of shots as possible.
Yeah.
So I think you have to try to switch everything that way, because a lot of times if you don't switch, you can get caught up on those screens, and that's where a lot of the open threes come from. If somebody gets caught up on a screen, all Steph Curry needs, Klay Thompson needs, is half a second.
Yeah, and all you do is you start a rotation issue. Yeah,
and the Warriors have a free flowing offense, right? So it's basically screen. They have the two main cutters, screen away, and then the screeners do a second action, or they'll set a second screen. So they're always just cutting and moving. There's no stop. It's not like once the play breaks down, it's somebody creating their own shot. It's just more screens for more shots. The only time you ever see them really go one-on-one is when Steph's cooking and he's doing those crazy dribbling things and he's just like in Steph mode. But other than that, they don't really have sets where it's like, all right, get the ball to this guy and let's make him make his shots. So I think for them, I would start off switching and see how they, are coming off screens like that. And the thing is, too, I think the refs are going to let these are the defensive ratings for both these teams are 1 and 2
off the charts. Yeah.
This is going to be, hopefully, if the league allows it, to be a physical series. So if you're being physical with these guys, that means that you're going to be able to bump them off screens. They're not going to be able to come off as tight. They're not going to be able to catch it in rhythm. So the main factor is just to have them shoot bad shots. Now, that's obviously easier said than done, but that's what I would do if I was Ime Udoka.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about some of the injuries. Who's a little hampered, who's coming back. So you got Peyton is coming back. Looks like Otto Porter is going to be back as well. And you have Robert Williams, who's, still kind of nursing that knee. What do you think? I kind of have the over-under for Robert Williams minutes for this series at 100. And I'm not sure if I don't like the under, because I wonder how much you can trust to leave him out there to get switched on. As good of a defender as he is in the post, I don't know if you. All right, there's Trisha. Yeah, Trisha's got to come in here.
Got a Celtics fan in the house.
She's a big time Celtics fan.
Is she?
I almost broke her heart.
My lady is as well, man.
Because I put a bet down a couple of series ago on Warriors over Celtics, and I was like, "Go Celtics for Game 7," and she was, or no, it was Game 6, I think, and she's like, "Let's go, it's their year," and I was like, to lose to the Warriors in the finals. And she was like, "Oh, you just took the wind out of my sails." So
I just realized you have a Warrior shirt on.
Oh yeah, you just realized.
Yeah,
that's man.
Funny.
Like
I got my basketball shirt on too, man.
I got money down on this thing.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Robert Williams? Like, so as a defensive liability on the perimeter.
Here's the thing too. Last series, the Warriors killed the Mavericks inside. Like, Kevon Looney had his career high.
Yeah.
And he was a huge part of them winning because they were just going inside. The Mavericks didn't have anybody inside. So I'm interested to see what it's going to look like, because Robert Williams is an excellent defender. He's a shot blocker and everything, defensive presence in the middle. Right. And, the first couple games in the series where the Warriors played the Nuggets, they were overplaying Steph's three. He was going to the rim every single time.
Right.
They didn't have anybody because they don't want Jokic to get in foul trouble. So they didn't have anybody defending the rim. They were overplaying him. Steph kept getting to the rim. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you're going to overplay Steph, he's going to go to the rim. But if he's going to the rim, who's there to block his shots or at least affect his shots.
Right.
So I feel like that's why you have to start with Robert Williams in. I mean, Al Horford has been playing well, really good as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to have the capability to defend the switches. And Steph is the face of the league, so he's going to get Steph Curry calls.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see with the big man. I like Robert Williams. I think he's super athletic, and he will be able to switch in this series.
All right.
But it like I said, it depends. It depends what their strategy is. Are they overplaying the three, or are they letting the other guys on the team catch the ball? That's why I think it's going to be important to see the playing style of both teams in this first game. And then you kind of make mid-game adjustments depending on who's hot and who's not. And then you got to go from there throughout the series. But I would start with him on the court because he's a tremendous defender.
And Grant Williams as like that adjustment to if he's getting eaten up on the perimeter and maybe picks up a couple of fouls. Grant Williams is a solid defender as well, and he plays. He's kind of got that like Barkley build and game to him where he plays bigger than 6'6". Of course,
so
Barkley played bigger than 6'4", but
I think Grant Williams and Draymond cancel each other out.
Probably so, yeah.
And I think they're both. I'm calling it now. At one point in the series, they're going to get double technicals.
They're both, just double technical. Okay,
just two big,
I'm wondering who's going to get
ogres just ready to fight each other.
They're ready to fight. No, bro, it's like.
But Grant Williams, as much as like I liked him at Tennessee, like you said, he was a great player at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But he does bring that chip on his shoulder type feel. He's a tough player. He's about 6'5", but he's big and wide, so he can
big ass dude. Yeah.
So I mean, he could definitely. He's a good defender. He was matching up with Giannis. I'm not saying he stopped Giannis, but he was making his shots.
No, but all he's got to do is make it difficult. Yeah, that's the thing. So all right, so we went that direction. So now let's talk about the flip side of that, which is Jordan Poole, as explosive as he's been this year, offensively. You've been able to kind of hide him in some of these games, especially mid-season and even in those first couple of series. But he tends to, I don't know, he tends to get himself in foul trouble or get beat easily. And he's chasing. So if you're Steve Kerr, how do you work that? Or do you just find like the spots where you can put him in where you can kind of hide him on defense?
So I'm assuming they're probably going to try to stick him on, depending who's in the game, either Marcus Smart or he'll just defend a shooter like Pritchard if Pritchard's in, or Derek White.
Yeah, right.
He'll probably try to match them up against them.
Mm-hmm.
But the Celtics, if they were smart, like you said, they would try to get him in a pick and roll on a switch.
Yeah.
And Tatum is obviously one of the best players in the league offensively.
He will eat Jordan Poole alive, bro.
Exactly. And then Jaylen Brown is super athletic.
Yeah.
He's a big body. So these are big, strong guards. Jordan Poole is not that good defensively, and he's not that strong defensively. So it's interesting. I think that.
And if he gets in foul trouble, then he's not any use for you offensively either. Because then if he can't play. So anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I could see the Warriors, depending on if Tatum's going off, to run a little box and one, because they did that against Luka a little bit.
Yeah,
didn't really work, but I could see them mixing it up. Like I said, it's going to depend on the game flow. Who's hot, who's not. It's going to be interesting, but I think the Warriors are probably going to. I think both teams are just going to switch because that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
If the Celtics aren't knocking down their threes, then you'll probably see the Warriors be a little bit more lax, so they don't get their guys in foul trouble. But if Grant Williams is making them corner threes, if Derek White's making his catch and shoot threes, then they're going to have to switch. So,
that's what Golden State does a lot, though, too, right? Is they kind of lag off of they dare you to throw up bricks.
But I would. Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't be surprised if Clay if they try to exploit Clay as well, because Clay is not the defender he used to be. Like we just said, he doesn't have that same explosiveness and athleticism. He's working back into that. Maybe next year he'll get back to that point. And it's a mental thing too. It seems like he's being more confident, but you could see at times too. And I had ankle surgery before.
going
had
up
2
in
major
traffic
surgeries.
is tough when
It's
you
not fun,
mentally.
and you have your days where it's
Yeah.
like, yo, this hurts.
Yeah.
You know, just from doing nothing, it'll just be swollen because you have an artificial medical thing in your body. It's just the way it is. But obviously, they have the best treatment in the world. I'm sure they're doing soft tissue work and all that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try to attack him and see if he can keep up with them or not. But that's a good point between him and Poole. Probably Steph as well.
Yeah.
Steph gets his knocks for not being the greatest defender. I disagree. I disagree on that point. I think he's a good positional defender, but one-on-one.
Right.
The only thing I don't like about the series is that Boston hasn't been good in close games. And the NBA Finals, hopefully, you're going to be close games. You know,
they tried to give it away against Milwaukee, and then they tried again to give it away against Miami.
Give it away against the Heat.
It's like, what are you doing, man?
See what Jabari said. Clay lost the whole set, but his shooting still fire. Yeah, man. Clay could get hot. If you see Klay Thompson hit 2 shots in a row, you better start praying because that man is criminal. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. That's why I'm excited for this game. I'm excited to see what lineups are thrown out there, how the refs are calling it. It's going to be in obviously it's out in where's their new stadium at? Oakland? Or is it San Fran?
San Francisco. Yeah.
Is it San Fran?
Yeah. Yeah, that was to me that was a big
how
mistake.
It's going to be. Yeah, their old Oracle was ridiculous. But their crowd is still crazy. So
yeah, their crowd's still crazy.
The thing about Golden State, they could be down 10 points, and then all of a sudden they're up 10 in like 3 minutes. They're a good transition team. So I think Scott Foster. I don't know. I haven't looked.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't looked at the ref matchup. See if I can
find it real quick.
It's an interesting one. All right, so while you're doing that, I got another question or two here. So my thing was like, you know, because we're going to get into, I want to get into like how these teams close games out, because that's and it's funny too, because like this is when I coach this league where have
1 sec, my bad. Mark Davis,
okay,
John Goebel, and James Williams. Mark Davis is the most popular out of those.
Yeah,
3 solid refs. It's good when you don't know the ref's name.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
you start having the games where you know Scott Foster and all that.
Right, exactly.
Who's the other white dude that the old white dude that Chuck raced in the All-Star game? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Dick Pavetta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever he had a game, I was like, "Oh my gosh, man!" This guy.
Right. Well, there's a guy. So there's a baseball umpire like that. Joe West was like that, where he was like, they called it the Joe Show, because it wasn't a game unless he like got his panties in a wad and like felt like he was getting showed up, so he showed his ass. Like he always had to make some big deal about something, and it's like, bro, nobody's here to watch you.
Yeah,
go
exactly.
Stand behind the plate. Dude, you just call the game. Like, I don't care to hear about. Anyway, so what I wanted to ask you about was, as these teams get close to crunch time, you know, you get into the fourth quarter, especially like the last 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's when you go with your lineup that really counts. Your closers. And I've dealt with this too, like in this little league that I coach in. It's you have, because they make us play everybody at least one quarter, and everybody has to sit at least one quarter.
Yep.
And so my fourth quarter lineup, I tell everybody, I'm like, do not worry about the starting lineup. The starting lineup is meaningless. If anything,
it's not about who starts the game; it's about who finishes the game.
I'll start 3 people who I'm not playing anymore after the first quarter, because I'm getting their quarter out of the way,
right?
So that we can catch up the rest of the game. But anyway, so when it gets down to that, so obviously we're going to have Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Andrew Wiggins. So then it comes down to Gary Payton, Kevon Looney. We talked about Jordan Poole, and how you mix that in, and where that's going to be really interesting to watch, to see how those things develop. Who does Steve Kerr play as that 5th guy at the end of the game? And I know foul trouble will play a role and everything, but it'll be just interesting to see how the games develop in that direction. And then the other side is you got Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then I think Al Horford is on the court for that last 6-7 minutes, is it going to be Derek White? Is it going to be Grant Williams? Is it going to be Robert Williams? How does that play out? What do you see with those late game lineup adjustments?
It's going to sound obvious, kind of stupid as well, but it depends on the game situation. If Golden State's up, they're going to want their better defensive guys in, trying to lock stuff down, running the correct offense, better free throw shooters in. So when they start to get fouled, but it seems like everybody on their team is a good shooter. But if they're down, they're probably going to want Jordan Poole in. They're going to want, obviously, Steph, Clay in, Draymond, and probably Wiggins. They might go really small because they need a push. They want better buckets. Same thing with the Celtics. If the Celtics are down, they're going to want their better offensive players in.
Right.
If they're up, they're going to want probably Tatum, Brown in, running the offense, and then Smart, Horford, and Williams to defensively wrap up rebounds, stuff like that. Like I said, though, depends on the flow of the game. Like you just said, depends on foul trouble. So it'll be interesting. But I could see, the Warriors playing small ball. We know from the past, Warriors playing small ball is very successful.
Right.
Because if you put up more points than the other team, you're probably going to win. But as we spoke before, the physicality is going to play a huge, huge part in this series. If it's a close game, I could see both teams pretty much rolling with their starting lineups. And then depending on the score, if it's a 1-point game, 2-point game, the time left, when they do the offensive, defensive subs. So ball goes out of bounds. Williams, go check in, get out.
Right.
Whoever, go get smart.
Offense for defense, yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of it. We need a 3-pointer here that you could see, we're up 3. There's 30 seconds left. Clay, we're taking you out of the game, and we're going to put in Peyton the second and Wiggins. So it's really going to depend on that. It's going to depend on the game situation. There's no correct answer. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tight. I think you're going to see a lot of offense defense just because I'm assuming it's a 3.5-point spread. Hopefully it's a close game. So hopefully we need a game-winning shot or something like that. You're going to see Clay come in, or if they need defense, like I said, Peyton a second. But I don't know, man. I just hope it's a good game. I'm sick and tired of, we shouldn't be seeing 15 to 20-point blowouts this late in the playoffs. As some of them, there was a Heat and Celtics game, and then even with the Golden State series, I wish that series was a little bit better with the Mavericks, but they're over with. Hopefully the finals are really, really close games. I'm just hoping for good basketball.
Yeah. All right. So what's the X factor for each team? So we're gonna wrap it up with who we're picking to win this whole thing and how many games and all that stuff. But I don't want to get to that just yet. Who do you see as the X factor for each team?
The X factor, people are saying Marcus Smart, and I get it. I would say probably Al Horford, because those games were against the Bucks where Horford played phenomenal. They beat the Bucks. The games where he didn't play his best, they lost. So I like Horford's game on the Celtics. I feel like he's one of their more important players, especially if they could use their physicality against the smaller Warriors, because the Warriors really aren't that tall. Even though Wiggins is technically their 4, he's really like a 2-guard, 3-guard, probably a small forward. So if the Celtics could play a lineup with Brown, Tatum, Williams, other Grant Williams, and Horford, like, that's a scary defensive lineup. I don't know if they're going to be able to match up with Steph, but I'm assuming they're going to have Marcus on him majority of the time, the defensive player of the year. Right. So my pick for the Celtics X factor is Horford, and then I already said it before on the Warriors is Wiggins. When Wiggins plays good, they're a phenomenal team. If he's playing like he was an all-star starter this year,
right,
thanks to K-pop,
right.
But yeah, I would pick Wiggins for the Warriors.
All right, so I mean, I can't disagree with you there. I think Jordan Poole, depending on how he plays and how well they can hide him on defense, if he puts up some of those 25 to 30-point games in this series, that could make things really interesting and could expose some things that I just don't see it happening, because I think his defensive liability is going to be more exposed in this series than it has been in any of the other series. And so he's probably going to have his minutes limited to a certain extent. But the X factor to me is like if he proves me wrong, then it's like I think it's curtains for the Celtics. But if he proves me right, then it's still the interesting series I see it being. And I actually like Grant Williams on the other side. We talked about it before. Like I couldn't stand him when he was at Tennessee. And shout out to that Tennessee team for not even finishing first in the SEC because LSU did. But no, he was he's one of those guys that like we talked about it before that he and Draymond they kind of cancel each other out because they're almost the same player. I think Draymond is so much more important to the Warriors than Grant Williams is to the Celtics.
That's a good point. Draymond does make that team go.
If Grant Williams gets into his head and can actually like take him out either through an ejection or through just like getting him, focused on the wrong things. Cause Draymond will do that. Draymond when he's on, he makes the Warriors like they're on another level. When he is preoccupied with some bullshit, it starts to affect other people even. Never mind the fact that it takes him out of what makes him great as a part of that team, but it actually like you start to see it like seep into other parts of the team. So that to me, that's why Grant Williams is the X factor to me, is because of what he could do to Draymond Green. So now let's get into
Williams. If he's shooting his outside threes, like he was a huge part why they beat the Nets. He was hitting wide open threes, man. And that game, in that series against the Bucks, he had like 8 threes. He shot 24 threes, bro. Right. That's crazy.
Yeah. So now the question everybody's waiting to hear the answer to is who you got?
Well, I'm not going to go against my word. A little over a month ago when they were playing the Nets, I said whoever wins this series is going to win the NBA championship, I feel like. And I've been pretty good with them making the finals so far. So I'm going to stick with my original pick, although it's very, very hard to pick against the Warriors. I feel like this Boston team is just a young, hungry group. With that being said, wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors won like 4-1. But I could see Boston winning in 6 if they're going to win. Yeah. If it goes 7, I don't think they have a shot.
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's either Boston in 6 or it's Warriors in 7.
Yeah. So my pick is they have to steal one at home, or they have to steal one in San Fran.
First two.
They have to.
Yeah.
But Boston's been weird. It really doesn't matter where they've been playing. They've just been so inconsistent.
Bro, that Heat series. Do you know that the road team was 5-2 in that Heat series?
It was ridiculous.
It's like, what are you doing?
So this is my thing though, right? The Warriors just played, you could argue, pretty 2 easy series.
Mm-hmm.
They spanked the Nuggets. Like that series wasn't even close. It was basically 1-on-5. It was Jokic versus the Warriors. Like they spanked them. And then the Mavericks, it was the same thing. Like Luka won versus the Warriors. So now I feel like Boston's more of a complete team and they're more physical defensively. Although the Mavericks were a pretty good defensive team, they didn't have the offense there. They pretty much had one scorer, and then if the outside guys were knocking down threes. I feel like Boston is just more of a complete team. It's not going to be as easy. I think the Warriors are going to have a little bit of a hard time matching up. So we'll see. But it's hard to pick against, Steph, one of the best players ever. The Warriors dynasty, they obviously have all that experience and everything. But I picked Boston from the beginning, so I got to stick with them.
All right. I know I figured as much, but I needed to hear it. I needed to hear it from your mouth. So I see what you're saying, that like the Warriors could win this in fewer than 6 games. I don't see that happening. I don't see them winning in 5. I think it'd be really difficult for them to win a game 6 with a 3-2 lead in Boston. I think that's
Celtics Warriors.
Yeah. I think if the series is 3-2 Warriors and they go to Boston, I think Boston forces a game 7, almost guaranteed.
Signed by his Heat fan. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, right. Y'all don't forget, if you're in here, like give us a sub, give us a like, and share the show with your friends as well, because this is what we do. This is what we do here. It's and even the biased Heat fans. But yeah, screw the Celtics, I guess. Yeah, Warriors in 5, I don't know.
Who you got tonight? Who you got
who
in
I
game
had
one?
tonight? I got the Warriors winning game one, but I had this. There was this really cool bet where like, if you bet the money line, whoever you bet, if they're up by 10 at any point in the game, you automatically win. And so I was like, well, I'm obviously picking the Celtics because that's the best beefy money line. Like it was like plus 140 or something like that. Yeah. So it's like, so plus 140. Okay. Plus 140. And if the Celtics are up by 10 at any point in the game, automatic win. Money line win. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like there's some pretty good value on that bet.
I think it's a bet MGM promotion.
The Warriors are favored by 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to upload some money in the account, and I'm gonna take the Boston spread though, plus 3.5. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think there's gonna be a lot of eyes on the game tonight.
I think it's possible that I don't win that bet for the 10 points. It might not ever get that big for either team.
Kind of pissed off the game is so late in my time.
Yeah, it's hella late.
9 p.m. Eastern.
Damn,
what is it, 8 p.m. for you?
Yeah, 8 Central.
Damn West Coasters.
I know, right? West Coast is terrible, bro. It's like, I get it when it's like the early rounds of the playoffs, and it's like, yeah, who cares about Utah? They're playing at midnight or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Miami is one outside shooter away from going back to the NBA. Yeah, man. Miami's one guy away. I could see them getting like Donovan Mitchell or Zach LaVine, somebody like that. Definitely. I mean, the Heat are solid. Heat culture is dope. They're one shot away. If Jimmy Butler hits that shot,
bro,
who knows what happens?
I can't believe that game went down like it did. When he walked into that three, I was like, bro, they just blew it.
I'm not mad at him for shooting that shot. Because
at the end of the day, he was about to end it right there.
At the end of the day, he was wide open. He was going for game. I love the mindset.
Me too.
Also wouldn't have been mad at him if he tried to get contact on Al Horford. He probably would have got that call.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah. And
I'm not mad at him for shooting the
so
shot,
well.
Man.
They shouldn't have so well around the rim.
That's almost a shot like we're not supposed to be in this situation, and this is just the icing on top of the cake if I hit this. So I have to shoot this shot because with about 3 minutes left in that game, I was like, "Oh, this game is over." And then Boston's like, "You know what? Why don't you guys come back in here?"
Somebody said, I got to go back and find it. Somebody said Boston. It was Jabari. He said Boston in the last 2 minutes of these fourth quarter in the playoffs act like they're playing for their bookies in South.
Bro,
Boston.
somebody on that team is definitely shaving some points, bro. This is ridiculous.
That way, man.
It's like, we have a chance to go up 25. Yeah, let's just take the worst shots ever and make sure we only win by 4.
And
it's ridiculous.
And let's take all kind of chances on defense and end up with like 5-on-3s. So I see this going 7, and I got the Warriors winning it in 7 in San Fran. I'm kind of with you. I think if it gets to Boston with the Celtics up 3-2, I think that's tough. I think that's really, really tough. I still think the Warriors could win those 2 games back to back, but it's just really tough. I see this being a 3-2 Warriors lead going into Boston, and it could be something where like each team takes a game on the road, and then
this is
the
how
Warriors
I see
win
it going.
Game 5 at home, and they go play.
I see Warriors winning tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Boston winning 2 in a row.
2. Yep.
Warriors winning 4.
4 and 5. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too. Once you start watching the NBA for a while, you can kind of just predict when it's 2 close teams how the series is going to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I could picture, Vegas rigging this game. No, I'm kidding. And having the Celtics because all the money's on the Warriors. So,
right. I could even see some whack scenario where it's like the Warriors win, go up 2-0, and then the Celtics win the next 2 games, or win 1, and they're down 3-1, and then they go win
3-2
at Golden State and make it 3-2. They go to Boston. Then they go to Boston. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen there's some weird ass scenarios because that's what happened when the war. Now, granted, it was a crazy deal with like Draymond getting ejected and then Andrew Bogut got hurt and everything. But in 2016, that's what happened. The Warriors went up 2-0. They lost game 3. And it was just like, they'd been blowing Cleveland out. And then they won game 4. And then Was it game 4 when Draymond
5, 6, 7?
Yeah, Draymond got it was in game 4 in Cleveland when Draymond got
game
ejected
5.
and suspended. Was it in game 5?
Yeah, it was game 5 because he had to miss game 6. Remember?
Oh, he had to miss game 6.
And then Draymond came back game 7 and played the best game of his life.
Yeah, right.
And they still lost.
Draymond
was ridiculous that game, man. People forget he was so good that game. I think he was like 6 for 6 from 3 or something, bro. It was ridiculous, man.
He was like Spencer Dinwiddie the other day when crypto was crashing. He was like, I gotta make this money back.
LeBron also had the best missed dunk of all time.
Yeah,
if he dunked that on him,
yeah.
I'm so pissed he missed that, bro. I'm like, yo, I know he got fouled like pretty hard, but I'm like, bro, if you dunked that on Draymond, that would be one of the best dunks of all time, bro.
Here's the crazy part,
finals.
Though. Speaking of dunks, if Andre Iguodala, who was like a dunk contest champion, if he doesn't just like slow roll that layup and just goes like hard,
you want to know why he did
throws
that?
It down.
You're talking about the one on J.R. Smith, right?
No, I'm talking about the one where Iguodala like goes down and like slow rolls the layup, and LeBron comes from out of nowhere.
Yeah, and J.R. Smith was there playing defense first.
Was play. Okay.
The reason why he went up so soft is because he missed like 4 free throws before that, so he didn't probably psychologically he didn't want to get fouled again. So he was probably just like, all right, let me avoid this contact and just roll it over him instead of going to the line. Then we got the greatest block ever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, man.
Psychology plays a role, right?
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Like, follow, subscribe, comments. Appreciate everything. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't root for the Celtics, but I'm trying to sound smart, so
let's get your bet on
Celtics.
That's right. But I got money both ways. So I got money tonight for the Celtics, and then I got money for the Warriors to win the whole thing. Yeah, and then I also did it was plus 400 odds on the Warriors to win 4-3. So I went with that too, because that's the way I see I see this going 7.
Seems like a good bet.
You know what I'm saying? And plus 400, I'm like, yeah, what's to me seems like the most likely scenario. Now they're all like, if you look at all the different ones, like I think plus 400 is about the lowest odds you can get. But it's you have to go like, you want to go 4-0, it's like plus 1800 or something like that. But I'm not that stupid. Ain't no way either of these teams is coughing up 4 straight losses. So
no,
that's not happening. So anyway, but yeah, we appreciate y'all coming out and joining us tonight. And I don't know, enjoy the game, enjoy the series. We'll be back to kind of update as we get deeper into the series, and kind of maybe adjust our predictions depending on how things are going, and see what of what we've been talking about actually kind of plays itself out. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a great series. Yeah, go Celtics, Trisha. I'm with you there, but I'm rooting for the Warriors personally for my own selfish reasons. But anyway, that's a wrap. Appreciate y'all coming out. Peace. I got next out of here. Y'all take it easy.